Hey guys, welcome back to my story. So finally, I had climbed the nose of El Cap, but I was just ready to hit the ground running. I had a bunch of money saved up. I had some expeditions to Asia planned, and I just had this terrible anxiety in me, like time had been wasting. Like I was just lamenting the fact that at how late I had gotten started in climbing, and I think, the whole climbing thing had really developed some ego and identity issues with me. And I think there's something about, a lot of guys in their early 20s that just, are just ready to kind of tackle anything without any care or concern for danger or whatever. So I had found this wild place in the Karavshin Valley, Kyrgyzstan, to go explore. The last team from America that had been out there had been kidnapped, and there's all this crazy stuff, but I totally didn't care. I wanted to do just the craziest thing that I could imagine. I had my buddy Miko from high school. He was actually living out in Kyrgyzstan working with the Peace Corps, so it kind of made a great, he was a great liaison for me. So bought my ticket to Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. I had met some climbing partners online that I was going to meet up with in Osh, which was in the south, and then had organized this expedition with a company that was arranging all the permits and military checkpoints and all the crazy amount of paperwork and border crossings you have to do to get to the Batken region and then eventually to the Karavshin Valley. So I arrived in Bishkek. Miko came and picked me up, and it was immediately kind of weird. Everyone there spoke Russian or Kyrgyz, and I was, very unfamiliar with what to do. I hadn't practiced any Russian, so without Miko's help, I don't know how I would have gotten around. It would have been a challenge, but he kind of took me back to the place where he was living on the north shore of Lake Issyk-Kul, which is a really big lake out there, surrounded by mountains, really beautiful. And he introduced me to a bunch of his Peace Corps buddies, and we kind of hung out for a few days, partying on the beach. There was a really cool beach with a bunch of natural growing marijuana, which was really interesting because it's highly illegal there, but we kind of enjoyed that and partied for a little bit. And on one of the days, I was making a pot of soup, and some of the other guys were playing catch, and one of the fly balls he missed, and it hit me in the back of the right hand. And I didn't think anything of it, but as the days kind of proceeded, I realized that my hand was messed up. So this is like really bad timing because I was just about to leave for the south to go do this climbing trip. So I was totally bummed out, but I proceeded on with it anyways. Miko and I headed down south to Osh, met up with Ken and Stuart, who are going to be my climbing partners for the next month down in the Karavshin Valley. And we loaded up on supplies. I met up with our Russian guides that were going to be driving different vehicles to get us through the region. And Miko couldn't proceed with me. He wasn't allowed by the government to go into the region. This was back in 2004, I think, and it was still really kind of dangerous for for Americans, especially, to be in that region. So the three of us, Ken, Stewart, and I, proceeded on. And this was just crazy what we had to go through to get down there. Now, I'd been told that I was going to need to bring American cigarettes and a bunch of vodka to be able to bribe our way through all the checkpoints. And this definitely came in handy. So we ended up having to bribe different, military checkpoint border guards and things like that. At one point we had to get snuck through I think a section of Tajikistan, and we were told to just stay there and kind of not come out. And so at some point we went through Voruk, Tajikistan, without even getting a passport stamped, and we were supposed to just kind of stay quiet and hidden in this like covered military vehicle. But eventually got all the way out to the military base, and we loaded up some donkeys, and it was very heavily guarded. They were still kind of in sort of skirmish battles occasionally with the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan. So we had all these kids kind of that went along with us and took us out to the climbing valley. But we felt very safe. And everyone was asking us, like, hadn't we heard about the American group that had been kidnapped? And we're like, yeah, whatever, it's cool. We're still going to go out there. So we headed out there and arrived in this valley, the Karasu Valley. The Karavshin Valley is split up between the Karasu and the Aksu on the left. and we were on the right in the Karavshin, and it was just this huge valley, kind of like Yosemite, but we had it completely to ourselves. So we set up base camp and kind of got to work, but unfortunately, the next 3 weeks it pretty much rained on us, and my right hand was like totally screwed up. I realized I wasn't going to be able to get anything done. So, and I also came to find out Ken and Stuart weren't super experienced climbers. In fact, I don't think they had ever really even climbed a big wall. So my hopes of getting on something like Mount Asan or Peak 4810 or anything like that, and with my hand messed up, is pretty much not going to happen. So we kind of eventually settled on an objective on the yellow wall, and kind of between spats in the rain, we were able to eventually put up a new route. It was about 1,800, maybe 2,000 feet on the left side. Eventually, there was some other climbing parties that joined us at the base camp area. There was a Norwegian base jumping team and the Ukrainian national climbing team and a Spanish team. And the Ukrainians told us that what we had established was indeed a new route, so that, it was good to know that we had put up a new route. I got to practice placing a bolt on the lead for the first time and setting up a pendulum, and I was able to still aid climb. Had to do it one-handed with my left hand. I was able to put up kind of a little route on the 1,000 Years of Russian Christianity wall on the left side, but that was kind of cut short, and it was really hard to climb anything with my hand all messed up. So did have some relative success. I had one kind of little solo adventure. I went over into the Aksu Valley to go check out Mount Petitsa, and Ken and Stuart ended up climbing this other easier free route called the Diagonal Route. But I took off on my own for a couple of days, hiked all the way back to Mount Petitsa. And then just with like a bivy sack, and I actually got snowed on overnight, and my bivy sack got buried in snow. It was kind of cool. But as I was hiking back, there was this guy that that I saw, and this is really weird because we hadn't really seen anyone out there. The only people that we'd seen was like a random goat herder, and then the Kyrgyz military would occasionally check up on us just to make sure we were okay. But as I was hiking back, I saw this guy all decked out in military camo and a big gun slung over his shoulder, and he was waving at me to come with him. So I was like, uh-oh, this this looks like it could be dangerous. But I didn't really feel like I was allowed to go anywhere else, so I followed him down to the river and into this stone hut with him. He didn't speak any English, of course, and I didn't speak any Russian or Kyrgyz. Went into the stone hut and discovered his family. So this was not a terrorist or anything. Apparently this was just kind of a guy that lives up there with his family, and introduced me to his little girls, and they were super hospitable. They fed me this amazing rice dish. I don't know what it was, but after eating a bunch of Cliff Bars all day, this was pretty awesome. So I hung out with them for the evening, and then took off back to my base camp. At one point, we managed to talk the Kyrgyz military and letting us do target practice with them. So I got to fire an AK-47 and a machine gun for the first time. So we tried to talk them into letting us do RPG practice with them, because we had found like used RPGs throughout the valley and ammunition all over the place, but I guess they didn't want to let us do that. But anyways, after a month, we ended up getting out of there. Now the trek back was no less crazy. Like this time, we took a different way, wound up illegally entering Uzbekistan on the way back, and it was pretty wild. But ended up finally getting my way all the way back to Bishkek, where Miko was, and planned the next leg of my journey, which was going to be to Pakistan. But apparently, Pakistan and Kyrgyzstan don't do business with each other. So in order to fly from one to the other, I was going to have to first go up north to Kazakhstan. Now, to go to all these countries, it's like a lot of you have to get visas, and it's kind of a difficult ordeal. But Miko helped me at the whatever it was, the consulate or something, to be able to get a visa for Kazakhstan and Pakistan so that I could fly to the next country. So on the next video, I'll talk about the next leg of my journey, which went up to Kazakhstan and then eventually down to Pakistan. So thanks for coming along.